My name is Lajla Husejnovic. I'm 19 years old and I'm from New Hampshire. I'm the oldest of 3 kids. My family wasn't the most religious, but it was more religious than some, I would say. It was really just going to Tarawih during Ramadan, praying here and there. I first started going to the Association of Bosniaks when I was pretty young, but older than when most people started. I went to Tarawih during Ramadan with my grandparents. I used to sleep at their house during Ramadan during the summer, the entire month, and I'd walk with them to the Jamia every single night, and that's really how I got into it. But even then, I don't think I realized how big of an impact religion should have in my life and would have. I'm the only member of my direct family that's covered. My grandma became covered recently after she became a Hajia. My hijab anniversary is May 6th, 2023. It first became a thought in my head years ago. I don't even know if it was in middle school, high school, but it became a thought, and it was always, I'll do it eventually. I'll do it when I finish school. I'll do it when I get married. I'll do it when I have kids. I thought it was something that I wanted to do with time. I just didn't know how soon it would become a reality. And then my friend and I joked about becoming covered together, and even then it really wasn't that big of a thing. That was a few months ago. It wasn't that big of a thought in my head. It was just like, okay, yeah, we'll do it. And then about 2 weeks before Ramadan, I want to say, it started weighing on me, and it was a constant thought in my head. I brought it up to my parents, and it was a kind of a question of how would you guys react, or how do you feel if I did this? And I saw that from them. I got the support that I was kind of hoping to see from them. And from there, through the entire month of Ramadan, through Bayram, through the end of the school year, it was a thought that I had every single day. I talked to my friend once. We were at Abanaha, and everyone had gone, and we were sitting in the classroom by ourselves, and I don't even remember how it came up, but the conversation came up again, and I started sobbing, and we were just sitting in the classroom in silence, and she told me how about a year ago she was in the same position with someone else, and she also recently made that decision. And then a few days before I became covered, I expressed my concerns to my parents separately. I was with my dad in the car to pick up my car from the shop, and I expressed how I didn't want them to feel a certain pressure just because of something that I decided to do. And I started crying in the car there too. And same thing happened with my mom. We were at the kitchen table, told her the same concerns. And I don't even think it was my concerns that caused the tears as much. It was more so the, the immense support that I felt from all these people that I trusted so much, even though I hesitated because I didn't want to express those concerns. So my inner struggle became an outer struggle, and I felt the support that I needed from those people that I trusted so much. My hijab anniversary was actually going to be Ramadanski Bayram, the first day. I decided the night before I was gonna do it. I was just gonna rip the band-aid off and make that decision. And then I woke up, I came to Bayram Namaz to help sell our gifts that we sell, and I went home and I took it off. Even during the Bayram Namaz, it was a kind of decision where I was like, do I go to these people's houses with my hijab on, or do I take it off? And I ended up taking it off, and I didn't make my decision that day. And then the days between that and my actual hijab anniversary, it was still just like during Ramadan, constant thoughts, constant concerns, overthinking. And then on Thursday, so I became covered on Saturday. On Thursday, I was awaiting my final presentation, the last final presentation I had for college, and it was scheduled for Monday, but I didn't want to wait because Monday was the last day of classes, so I was overthinking even that. And so Thursday, I went to bed and I was just hoping that there would be some way for us to go on Friday and just get the presentation out of the way so I could become covered sooner. And I thought it was pretty impossible because we were the last group to go, but we went on Friday, and I went home that night with the plan in my head that I would do it the next day. I woke up on Saturday and I was ready to go out to my parents and tell them. I wouldn't tell them there, just them. And I went out and I started freaking out, and then I went to my room and I started crying. And then I composed myself. I went back out to tell them, freaked out again. I went back into my room, and then I took this hijab that my friend got me on Bayram as what would be my first hijab as a hijabi, and I started putting it on. And I sat in front of my mirror and I stared at myself for like 5 minutes. And I started crying again. And then it was kind of back and forth. I'm gonna do it, I'm not going to do it. And finally I made the decision. I went out to my parents, but they were getting ready to leave somewhere. So one's in the living room, one's in the room, the other one comes to the living room, the other one leaves. And I started doubting it again. And I was like, I'm just not gonna do it. Um, and then they were literally leaving the door. My dad was out the door and I walk out and I was like, I tell you guys something. I had the hood on from my hoodie and I walk out onto the stairs and I tell my parents, I was like, guys, I'm hijabi now. My dad looks at me and he goes, you put a hood on your head. And I was like, no, I'm serious. Like, and my mom looks at me and she goes, are you actually, or do you just want a reaction? Because I brought it up to them so many times and I was like, no, I'm for real. They kind of just said, okay, and they left. I started overthinking it again and I was like, is that their reaction? But then when they came back, they gave me hugs, they congratulated me, and that's what happened on that day. When I first became covered after telling my parents, I FaceTimed my grandparents to tell them because my grandpa asked me about it a few days before and expressed how excited he was for me to take that step. And when I FaceTimed them, my grandma was alone, she answered, and she expressed her concerns about how young I was and the decision I was making, how important it was, how it would alter my life and stuff I'm doing currently, for example, my education. And 2 months later now, she is covered herself after becoming a hajia. I had a lot of concerns about putting the hijab on. There was some that now I think were pretty pointless and I was just overthinking every aspect of my life and how it would change if I took that step. I think my biggest concern was my place in people's lives or the image people have of me changing. I didn't want to be treated differently by family, which I realized shouldn't have been a concern, but then I was also worried how my professional life would change, my education, how people from the outside would look at me, because I think it was kind of abrupt in their eyes. And then I also had the concern that people would expect my parents or other people in my family or people in my closer circle to change because of the decision I made, which I didn't believe is the case. I think everyone should be able to make that decision for themselves. It's been about 3 months, almost, since I became covered. I thought a lot about the negatives and how my life might negatively change and how people might negatively react. I didn't really think about how my life could change in a positive way. I was really overthinking the aspect of school because I had gone there the entire year and I go to a Catholic college. I thought that when I went, there would be questions, there would be looks from the people that I have classes with every single day. And I showed up to school that day before finals. We had one last day of classes. And I walked in kind of anticipating some sort of reaction, but everyone acted like my hair was flowing, like I didn't even have the hijab on. Um, and the same thing happened the day I became covered. I had to go to Breakthrough, this summer program that I went to and I work at now for my sister. And I know most of those people there. I walked in expecting questions, reactions, but again, everyone acted like it didn't even happen. I think I got only positive reactions from people that I expected positive reactions from. But other than that, I don't think people have treated me differently so far. If you're a woman who has been thinking about it but has not done it yet, I think you're never going to realize that you're ready until you actually do it. I think you should put thought into it because if you don't, I feel like even in my situation, I put so much thought into it and there still is moments where I freak out and I think that I did it too soon. But I think it's a decision worth making for yourself. I think you shouldn't overthink about the reactions you're going to get because you should only do it for yourself and your relationship with Islam and God. If I could use one word to describe putting the hijab on, I would say relief because it felt like a weight on me as I was thinking about that, and I don't even think I realized how much of a weight and impact it had on my mentality and what I was thinking about until I finally made the decision. And it kind of was just like all those thoughts rushed out of me. Even when I was thinking about it, it was still all the thoughts I constantly had every single day kind of just disappeared.